Hi, I'm Debbie Blatt and welcome to my studio. Today we're going to be working on this upcycled Levi apron. We'll go ahead and take a closer look and you can see what we're going to be making today. Okay, let's go ahead and take a closer look at these little aprons that I've been making. This one is my Dreamer apron. This is the one I've made for my sister for Christmas. Spoiler alert for her if she's watching. But it's got my Dreamer on here and I just freeformed that in there with the sewing machine. Let me see what other details we've got here. A nice little pocket, and I've put a little birdie, some XOs, some little music notes, the birds tweeting. I put the little lucky you here, and on this one, I was able to salvage the zipper, so that would come down, and I made another pocket in there. So I have a pocket inside a pocket with a pocket out here. So plenty of storage for anything you want to haul around, either in the yard or the art room or wherever you're wearing your apron. The waistband is what I used for the neckband. I used the original button off of the jean. And what I did is, here's the original buttonhole, but I put two more so that the apron will be adjustable. Down here on the front, I got a couple of pockets right there. Those are the back pockets. And then I put a little flower. And then over here, I've got a few more patches. Then as we spin it to the back, put a few more patches there, made a little pocket right here. This little pocket would be good for scissors or for a shovel or anything if you're outside. Here you can see that I've got the nice bow on the back of the tie. And then over here, I use the little Lucky Brand patch. Let's turn it again. Some few more patches, some patches down towards the bottom, and some more belt loops, which are really fun. On this particular one, all I used was a zigzag stitch. You can see that right there. And what I did is I ran a straight stitch through it, just kind of weaving it through there just for a decorative effect. You want to make sure that we get a good stitch on here, which is a good big zigzag stitch. And it's kind of tight, not like a satin stitch, but you want a good zigzag stitch. And so this is a very easy beginner's project. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other one. Okay, here we are with the first apron I made, and this one is mine. As you can tell, this one's been washed a little bit. I tea-dyed this one, I didn't the other one. But when I tea-dyed it and threw it in the dryer, it gave me more of this fringed look. And on mine, I used some decorative stitching just because I was playing with my sewing machine and wanted to test out some of the stitches on my sewing machine. And what I did on this one is I put my name here, Tootsie. That's my nickname. Everybody in my family calls me that. And then I made a little bird down here. Again, this is just a pocket inside a pocket. I didn't put another pocket in there like I did on the other one. I used the badging off of the back of the Lucky jeans and put it right here. Again, I used just the waistband, and I left all the strings and everything where I picked it off. I love all that fringe and strings. That's my thing. But I put the waistband and I left the branding, again, on the waistband because I like the way that looks. So up here, it's got the vintage straight leg 361, you know. It's got the description of the jeans. I've got a belt loop here. I think I probably would have put another belt loop here, and I still can go back and do that. It's not a big deal. Over here, I've got a few more patches with some hearts and X's and O's, and I got my bow. I made mine to sling down to hang a little bit lower. I like a lower sling on my aprons. It's just personal preference. Got a couple of more belt loops over there. Let me see what I got down here. I got my Lucky You branding. And then right here on the front are the back pockets of the jeans. And then up here is the front pocket of the jean. Using these pockets as well, still being able to use. And then I've got these pockets. Then I got this pocket. And then on this one again, I put a pocket inside there. So just one more pocket. And over here, I didn't. So it looks like I just did the one. And then got my little flower on there, just like my other one. So this is just kind of giving you a peek at what these aprons can look like. I mean, I've used 2 pair of jeans and for each apron, and I've been able to get 2 different looks using the same stuff, but gives me a little bit of a different style or type. So let's go ahead and I will start let's go ahead and I'll start showing you how to get these aprons made. Okay, to start the project, what you're going to need is a couple of pair of Levi's. Now, I have 2 pair of Levi's here that my husband had worn out, and I just saved everything. I had planned on making a quilt out of Levi's, and I had just a box of Levi's, and when I saw this little apron idea, I thought, hey, I'm going to use those Levi's for this instead of the quilt, so that I could start cleaning up some of my stuff and getting rid of it. And what better way to upcycle than to be able to reuse it like this in a cute little apron. So what I've got here are 2 pair of Levi's, and my husband's Levi's, they even have a hole in them right here, if you can see the hole. Don't panic about this, because we're just going to patch these, and this really adds some cute little flair to it once we start the patching. So what you're going to want to do is we're going to need to get as much fabric yardage as we can. So with the pair of pants, looking at it, the yardage is going to be in the legs, and what we do here is we're going to reuse these pockets on the back. So we know we don't want to cut up too high, okay, because you don't want to cut into these pockets. And then we're going to reuse the pockets on the front as well. So keep that in mind when you're chopping these up and getting them ready. So I just kind of dropped right below here and chopped off a leg on each one of those. And let me show you. Once you get those chopped off, you're going to have something like this. And don't worry if the Levi's are different colors. That's what I really liked about it. I've got a darker, a medium, a light one. It just is patchwork together, and it looks really cute when they have different colors of Levi's. What I did on this one, this is the pant leg. Let me get it put together for you. This is the pant leg right here when I cut it off. And the end of it was so frayed, because you know sometimes when they're walking and they're dragging their pants, it just ripped right off and fell off. So I just ripped it off. You don't need it on there. If you want to keep it on there, go ahead. It's personal preference as far as that goes. But go ahead and get those legs cut off, and then either rip the seam or cut the wide seam out of there, because you don't want that big, thick, bulky Levi seam trying to get that through your sewing machine. So what you get here is a nice piece of fabric. And so you'll do that with both legs on both pair of pants, so that we'll start to piece this together. Now don't worry if you have these little funky shapes, and we're going to square this off. And so for right now, the goal is just to chop off those legs on the Levi's, and let's get some fabric going so we can lay out our pattern on there and get the apron cut out, and then we'll start placing the pockets. And so like I said, please remember when you're cutting, let me show you this one. I cut the legs off on this one already, and I was very careful to this one, you know, I didn't want to cut into these pockets, and I didn't want to cut into those pockets, because we're going to take those off individually. And then also, if you can see, the waistband is what I used for the neck band of the apron, and I left all the badging, and I even left the thread. If you can see some of this thread that's unraveling, I like the scrappy look. That's just me. I kind of like a little bit of scrap, a little bit of weathered, vintage looking items, and I thought that worked really well. Also, we used I used the button right here in the front for the button right here, and this is the original buttonhole on the waistband. Then I added a couple more buttonholes on my own so that it could be adjustable. So what you're going to want to do is take that waistband off carefully. And when I say carefully, you're just going to leave all the badging on it and start cutting along here. Before you do that though, you're going to need to take off these little belt loops. And as you can see, I've used the belt loops right here. I used a couple over here, and on the previous video, previously you saw all the belt loops that I used on the other apron. So these belt loops are pretty tough to get off. Lucky Jeans makes a darn durable pair of Levi's. And so what I recommend is that you take your time. Don't try to rush through these, because I did, and I tell you what, I gouged my finger with this seam ripper many a times. I had blood just going all over. I had band-aids on all my fingers. So be careful with that. I recommend that you take the patch off. You can see I used my patch and moved it over to here. And then on the other one, I moved it towards the back. So on this one, when you're doing it, you know, just get your little seam ripper in there and start ripping off your patch. It'll probably rip pretty good. You want to save that patch so that you can put it back on and use it for future aprons. See, I've got a patch here that I took off another one that I wanted to use. So I kind of put that aside. But these patches, back here, they come off really easy. You know, just be careful, watch your fingers again, pop them off. So get your patches off and get these belt loops off. I tell you, these are the bane of my existence when it comes to making these aprons. They are so hard to get off. I'm sorry, I feel like my hair's all over. They're so hard to get off, and so just take your time and get them off, and don't cut your fingers. Once you get them off, I want you to go ahead and start trimming off the waistband. And again, just be careful, you know, when you're cutting by the zipper and stuff, not to hit the metal with your scissors, because that'll really muck up your scissors. If you come across any rivets, what I had was a little razor knife, and I kind of had to saw right there, or just cut right around that rivet so that it didn't tear up my scissor blades. So that's just something to keep in mind. So let's go ahead and chop off our legs and get those ready. And I would do it on both pair so that we can get some real good fabric laid out here, and we know what we're looking for as far as getting the pattern set on it. Just another note here, if you hear snoring, that is Mr. Tank. He will not leave me alone today. And when I shut the door and put him out, he barks like a banshee. So we are going to be sharing the studio today with Mr. Tank and his snoring. So again, I do apologize. So here we go. I thought I'd introduce you to Mr. Tank. He's the one making all the noise. That's Mr. Tank. So just kind of have to look past that. My apologies again. So let's go ahead, chop off the legs, and get these belt loops off. And then we'll start working on cutting out the pockets. So let's go ahead and get that done. Okay, we've got the buckles. I'm in the belt loops down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this here. Now, I used the functioning zipper on this one. I mean, not on this one, but on my other one, I was able to save the functioning zipper and use it right here. On this one, I haven't. So just when you're cutting this, you know, kind of keep that in mind. See if you can't cut a little bit high on there, or if you plan on using that zipper again, maybe you'll want to pick just right here, opposed to cutting it right away with the scissors. Because I did like to use that zipper. That was really cute, and I like to use all the mechanics that I can, keeping them in place. So I kind of think I'll rip right here. Oops. And now we have no seam ripper. I'm telling you what, these Levi's are crazy. Crazy tough seams. So I guess I'll take my razor knife. Hopefully you won't watch me gouge myself or anything, but we're cutting that right there, just away enough that I can get past the zipper right here, so I don't lose any of the zipper and the mechanics of it, because I want to reuse this zipper. So I'll just do it right there. I'm going to get this knife under here. Then what I'm going to do is probably just clip right here. There's a big thick seam, and you're going to want to clip just that little bit of the seam without getting into the zipper. There we go. So that right there left me the mechanics of my zipper. It's still intact, and it's not going to come unraveled. And so then what I'll do from there is just take my scissors and trim right along that waist. And again, I'm right at the zipper here, so I'm just going to be real careful and go underneath here and cut that with the razor, or if you have a seam ripper, because mine obviously busted. Couldn't take it, only made it through 2 aprons, and that was that. I'm telling you what, this Levi is some tough stuff. Okay. If you're working with the razor knife, please be careful. These things can get away from you just as quickly as the seam rippers. Okay, so I've got that hanging on there just by a little thread, and all I'm going to do is nip it. And there we have our waistband, which will in turn be our neckband. So we got that gun there. Now what we're going to do right now at this point is we're going to cut this button off of here, because what happens is I attach this button here, and this has to go around like this, so I need a button here. So it needs to be over there and not on this side. This side will get sewn to the apron. So go ahead at this point and give it about 2 inches. Go up about 2 inches just so that you have plenty of room. Cut that off. And we'll probably end up cutting some more of this off after you measure it, because this is awfully long. Even if you put a couple of buttonholes for adjustment, this is still kind of long. So just go ahead and pin these two together so they don't get lost, and set them aside. I'm going to have to get Tank out of here. Tank, stop. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead, set that aside. And then on this particular pair, I didn't take the bottom loops off because, let me show you why. I already have a pair of pockets that I cut out on another jean right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut these with, because the loops are staying up that way, and I have quite a few loops, so I'm just going to cut those off with the loops on. So what you're going to do, you see this edge right here, it's got an angle to it. And you want to cut with the angle, and cut just barely right above that big thick seam. So all you need to do is just cut in on the side here, maneuver it around, and cut right along that big thick seam. When you get to the point where it all junctions, just really work your scissors through it. There we go. And I'll take these off later. I'm not worried about them right now because my seam ripper's broke. I'm going to have to go get a new one or work with the razor. And when you get to here, you don't want to cut into this because we're going to save this pocket. Alrighty? So just get as close as you can here and cut down this seam. Carefully down that seam. Watch the rivets. If you hit those, just kind of try to go around them. And you'll be cutting the pockets liners on when you're doing this. These liners right here, you might get a couple of those, but that's okay because we're going to sew back down there anyway and close it off. So what we're doing is just taking off this back pocket. So we've got one of them off. Let's go over to this side. There we go. Gonna nip that off. I'm just going to throw this aside because I've got a couple of belt loops still that I'll take off later. And so what I've got here is the back pant pocket, and it's got the crotch attached to it still. And so we can right now just go ahead and cut that off of there. And it doesn't need to be fancy because we're going to square this up. We're just trying to get our pieces dissected right now, our Levi dissected into pieces. So go ahead, we've got that one there. Go ahead, put that aside. We'll square that up in a minute. And then we've got this right here. And the beautiful thing about this one is the zipper is still functional. And I think that if I take off a few inches off the side, I could literally use this for the breast pocket right here. If I just took a little bit off of here, and then that would still give me a functioning zipper to get into that pocket. So that's really a cute option. And then, so put that aside. So you've got this pockets with the nice functioning zipper and the back pockets that we're going to use for here. So I'll go ahead and set those aside, and let's kind of get some of our stuff here because we've got our loops. We want those out here. And then what I did is I was able to cut off a few of these brandings off of the Levi's that I had. So I like to save those and use them. There's the patch that I used. And then also I went and I grabbed some fabric because I want to use this fabric scraps to make my little patches and my flower. And then on the Levi, if there is a hole that's pretty big, like on this pair, there's this hole right here. And what you can do, I've seen some really cute Levi, not Levi, but cute patching videos on Facebook and stuff. And you can put the fabric behind it, and as you look through the patch, you'll see the fabric. And then you can embroider around it. There's lots of fun things. I just prefer to go right over the top with it, and I'll show you how we do that. So make sure you got some scrap fabric so that we can go ahead and make some cute little patches. So I'm going to go ahead and get those set aside, and we will start squaring up our Levi legs. Okay, I wanted to show you another trick really quickly. With the Levi's, I cut this one leg off, and like I said, we were going to square it up earlier. And what I found is this fabric tears on the grain. So what I did is make a little rip right there, and I'm going to see if we can't get this to tear right along that seam. And in doing that, I get right to the end. It's tearing beautifully. I've got this big bulky seam. Just go ahead and cut through it with your scissors. Oh, goodness, there we go. So what we're doing, in doing that, it's straightened up or squared up that edge. It's really done a nice job on it. So what I'm going to do over on this edge, because I know I need to square it up with this seam right here, I'm going to go ahead again and clip it and rip it. Again, I've gotten to the bottom here, and I want to get that big bulky seam right off of there. So I've got a nice squared up piece of Levi. Now this is what I was talking about on the bottom. You can either leave this on there or you can take it off. This one is very worn, so it's just coming off, and I don't want to have to deal with the mess of that when I'm sewing. So I'm just ripping it off, and anywhere you can just rip, I love that look because I love all the fray that we get. Look at that. I love this fray. And so anyway, we've squared that up, and now the only thing we really have to square up is this part right here. And in order to do that, you know what? Just fold that leg in half and, you know, eyeball it. Give it a straight cut across. Just get it as straight as you can. Like to say, it's not rocket science. This is pretty free form, just an organic type project. And there we go. Yeah, it's a little bit of arch there, but I'm not worried because we're going to be using this as part of the fill, okay? And then right here where it's a little weathered and thin, I know I'm going to come back and throw a patch on there, so I'm not too concerned about that. So I've got one piece there. Here I've got another leg. We're just going to go ahead, and this is the leg that has the hole in it. That's great. I don't care. I like those holes. So I'm kind of coming up here because I want to cut with the grain and see if we can't get this one to rip just as well. It is. It's ripping beautifully. Oh, look at that. And it's ripping right across the bottom at the same time. So we are multitasking here with this pair. And it looks like it's kind of ripping off the direction. So I'm going to just clip it and get it back on course. Oh, it doesn't want to go back on course. So that's all right. I'm not too worried about that. We'll throw that away. And here we go. Got this fabric. It ripped really good on there, squared that up nicely. So again, on this side, I'm going to do the same thing and get that to rip straight. And ripped right to the seam. Love that. So there we go. And I'm going to square up this arched end right here. See where it's kind of arced up there. Just going to square that up real quickly. By straightening out that seam. There we go. Okay, so I've got 1, 2 pair of pant legs there. Now let's kind of look at these, because what you're going to need is you're going to need a piece that will go all the way around to about right here. That's this back flank part right here. And so what I kind of do is put them together and see how wide I can get this piece of fabric. So now I've got that one there. And I got this one here, and it doesn't matter if it's, you know, there's no right or upside down or right side up or anything like that. And what I'm going to do is, because I've got, it looks like, you know, these two, I like this right here. I like this light blue, and I'm thinking I probably only need one more of those in there, because if I take my tape and I put it around me and I say, okay, if this is my apron and I want it to go just to here, on both sides, you know, you kind of get a feel for it, and you're saying, okay, that's 37 inches to go, you know, to fit loosely and around to here. So what I want to do is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, now these two together, this is 37 inches exactly. So if you didn't have another pair of pants, you could work with this and you could make your apron out of this as far as the bottom part goes. But I do have another pair, and so what I'm going to do is I am going to rip this one because, let's see if I can get this one to rip straight. I'll try it. There we go. Perfect. I like the coloration difference. I like that we've got light, worn, tattered, and then I want the darker one right here in the center. And I got a little bit of an arch right here from the where it goes into the crotch, and that one I'm just going to give it a nip and rip it down, and it rips right on the grain. So what I'll do is I'm going to sew, and see how I've kind of pulled this seam out right here, this seam that was underneath in the jeans. I like that. So I'm going to sew that there, and I'm going to top stitch all of mine. I like it right on the top, and I'm going to zigzag down this right here and top stitch it right there because I like this decorative look, as I'd mentioned earlier. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to put that on there just like that and top stitch them. I'm just leveling up the bottom part here, or this could eventually be the top. Just level one of the ends, okay? Get it kind of straight that way. I don't know if I can show you. Let me get that without dropping my scissors. So what I've done is I've kind of just matched up all the seams here and kind of give me a straight across the top. And then so go ahead, go to your machine, and this is a zigzag stitch. Just zigzag all the way down. Zigzag all the way down. Attach these two pieces together. Get that done. Come on back, and I'll show you how to put the rest of it in. Okay, so I went over to the sewing machine, and I zigzagged this together. I can show you that. You can see that that's zigzagged together. And then, like I say, I just kind of weaved down there with my straight stitch. And that's where I've got this nice piece of fabric all put together. And then I'm taking this at this point, and I'm going to say, okay, how far around does this go? And this really comes around quite a ways. This comes out, it almost meets back here. So that's kind of too big for me, but we'll get to that in just a minute. And what I want you to do, like I said, I wanted you to square off one end. I'm going to just roughly do both ends. I'm going to square up both of my ends because I want to see what my options are. Maybe I'll turn it the other way and put the, I think I will do that. I think I like it the other way around. So just taking my scissors real quickly. I've got an extra piece right here, and I'm just going to chop that off and square that up a little bit and get rid of the extra piece. So now we've got this. What we want to do while we're here like this right now, I want me to put these two together and find center. Center for this one is right here. What I'm going to do is mark it with a pin because this is going to come in to finding center for the front. So I've gone ahead and found the center for that. Don't worry about this if we chop some off the ends. We'll chop it off equally. It's not a big deal. So what I've got is that one there. And now I need this part. Because this apron comes down and goes, you know, like this, we don't need that huge piece up here of additional. All we need is one about like this, just to add right here so that we can make that loop. And so in doing that, I have this other pant leg, and I'm kind of looking at it. I'm thinking it is going to be wide enough right here that if I add that on there, if I add that right to the top there, pulling out that seam because I like that nice orange seam. And when I sew with mine, I sew with like a tannish, what do I want to sell? Like a khaki tan thread because I like that look. I want to almost mimic the Levi thread. So what I'm going to do on this one, because again it's off a little cockeyed, I'm just going to rip this one as well. And I think it's about right here, just by eyeballing it where the straight of the fabric is. Yep, right there. And I'm losing that pretty yummy seam, but that's okay. I still got the other one. And I got lots of frays. And don't worry about the frays. Again, I like them. You can, you know, personal preference on there. So what I did is I just squared that up. And looking at it, if I held this on me, I would say, yeah, that'll be wide enough because I think I can put this on there to make the rest of it. And let me kind of show you, now I'm all covered in lint, how you're going to measure your apron. so that the way that it will fit you. And what I do is I just take my tape measure and I start with my 1 and I go to my waist right here. And I start at my waist and then I just drop it and see where it lands as far as my knee goes. And this one says 18. So I know I need from my waist down at least 18. So you might want to write that down somewhere. And then from my waist up to about right here is 12. So I need 18 plus the 12. So what's that give us? 30. And so I know I've got to have something that's at least 30 inches long. And looking at this piece that I have here already just scrapped together without putting the other piece on it, I'll tell you it is, let's see, 27 inches long. So we're going to have plenty of space once, you know, plenty of length once we add this to it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add this right on, and I want to find center on this one as well. Okay. And like I said, I like that yummy little seam there. It's fun. I'm going to find a nice center. I think I'll square this one up just a titch over here because I'm not worried about this because it's just going to come off. But if you want to square it up there, you can. So let me just get this length even. There we go. So here's center. I'm going to mark it with a pin. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with this one. Now at this point, like I said, you can put it right sides together, stitch it, and flip it up, but I choose not to. And I'm just looking here to make sure I've got a good square piece so that when I sew it across here, I don't miss any of this. And I think I can go ahead and get that. Looks like this is a little bit lower on this end. So, marking center, I'm just going to go move my pin down a little bit because I want to even this up. This side is definitely shorter than the other one. And I want a nice straight stitch here, a nice straight lineup of my seams at least. There we go. There we go. Okay. I think that I made it worse. I'm crooked tonight, but you know what? That's okay. It's all good. It'll work out. So what I want to do is I'm going to overlay this on here. And if it's a little crooked on top here, that's all right. That's what it's all about. It's just having a nice, scrappy looking apron. It's not supposed to be perfect. If it was, I wouldn't be doing it. I am not a precision sewer if I don't have to be. I can, but I don't want to if I don't have to. So there we go. I'm just going to pin this on here all the way across. Okay, got it all pinned. Now what I want you to do is again go back to the machine and zigzag along here and attach this part to the bottom. And this is going to be where our bib starts. So we may come down like this and cut into here. But just let's get this on here and then we'll decide how to set our pattern, okay? So go ahead, take it to your machine while I take mine over, and let's go ahead and get that taken care of. Okay, what I did is I went over and I put that, attached that pant leg right up there and zigzagged the stitch on. Again, I have to apologize if you guys heard some thumping earlier. That was my little 18-month-old grandson, just, I'm sure, tearing up the place upstairs. You know, what you see is what you get with me. There are no pretenses. I'm just a simple sewer, sewing in my basement, trying to save my sanity. So I do apologize for all the background noise, and I think I can even hear my furnace running. But you know what? We're doing a fun project. Let's just overlook it and keep moving forward. I could run upstairs and tell them to be quiet. I think that might last for about 5 minutes, and then it would all just come around again. So let's not worry about it. So I've got this right here, and the first thing I need to do is we need to determine the length. And I don't think you guys will be able to see my legs, but take yours and kind of, you know, center it on you and decide where do you want your bib to come. I want my bib about right here. And so looking down, I can see that this is dropping about 6 inches below my knee. And I don't want it that long. So I know I'm going to cut the end off there. And then I'm looking at it right here. And in this position, I like where that's coming, the height on my hip here at my waist. So I like that side. And looking at it here, again, I like where this one's landing right at my waist. Again, I think it's maybe, 2-3 inches too long, but I can cut that off. But I do like where it's landing right here across my top. So what I'm going to do is just kind of look down and pinch it. I'm just going to pinch it where I think I want it to be on my body. And then I'll just flip it up here and cut that much off. And in doing so, it looks like we're losing our hole, which is fine, doesn't matter. So just kind of straighten that up. There you go. Just kind of straighten that up. And, you know, give yourself a little grace as far as the inches go. If you feel like maybe you pinched it too short, you know, you can always cut off some, but you really don't want to have to add some back on. You could, because that's the beauty of this project. But that would just be some more sewing for you. Okay, there we go. We're done cutting across the bottom. Don't throw this away. This very well could become a strap around the neck if you run out of waistbands. You could just make this a little bit thinner, you know, take it down and use it as a strap, or you could even use it as the ties on the back. So save these big pieces because they are well worth having when you're trying to put a project together. So I'm just going to toss that aside. And now looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, what I have here is one big square looking apron. And so what I want to do is again go back to center. And I'm thinking, here's about center. How far do I want that bib? Do I want it to come to here? And I'm thinking about right to there. So let's look at it. Thinking right about there. That looks good. So just fold it in half there. Try to square it up. Now this is the part that we're going to go ahead. I'm keeping my finger right there where I know I need it. This is where I want my bib to start cutting, okay? When I say bib, I mean my breastplate or my bib part of the apron. So I want to straighten that out. I'm going to straighten this out. There we go. So we've got kind of like a Utah-shaped piece of fabric here. And at this point, do a little squaring up. I can see I've got a slope here. So just going to take off that slope. These big thick seams are hard to get through. So there we go, got rid of that. Up here, I can see I've got a little bit of a crooked slope, and that's fine. I don't mind having it crooked up there. I kind of like it. But what I want you to do is turn it towards you and look at it this way now. Here's where we have our belt loops our tie attaching to our apron back here. Like I said, mine's lower. This one's going to be up a little bit higher, the one that we're working on. So what I did is, I know that it's a few inches too wide right here coming around my hip. So right at this point, I am just going to again take a snip. I'm going to snip them both at the same because I've got them squared up there, and I'm just going to rip up and get rid of, how many inches was that? 2 inches almost. It was 1 1/4 inch, 1 3/4, I mean. So I've already done that one. Here's this one. I'm just going to rip it up. Again, going to save those, you never know. And I've got me a nice squared edge still because I ripped right on the grain of the fabric. Getting rid of those. So I find that perfect right there. I like that. So over here was where I found I wanted my bib. This was the whole length of it. Here's center, remember? So I've got this yellow, orange, I should say, orange children's Crayola marker. And what I'm going to do with that, pull it down here, is I know I want my waist to stay at this height right here. So I'm going to just take a gradual arc. And I'm going to have it arc right into here. Right into there. So I'm going to cut this right there so that I keep this arc that height. There we go. And in doing that, if you'll notice, it's getting rid of this unevenness up here as well. And this one we're not going to be able to rip because we've got a couple of different grain lines going here and we want more precision. So I'm going to pull out my pin there. cut along that orange line. With these children's markers, they're washable, so they'll wash right out when you do the tea dye bath, if you choose to tea dye. I'm going to go just slightly above my seam that I sewed, because I don't want that to come unsewn, but I am going to trim that little bit over here. There we go. So now we've got this beautiful, oh, I'm bleeding again. Tell you what. Anyway, we've got this nice arc on here, and then just take and open up your apron. Let's get this stuff out of the way. And here you go. Looking at it, it's going right here, coming around and landing perfectly. And we've got a little space there because when you cinch it up, it's going to meet. So that looks really nice. I like that one. So what, now I'm 5'2", so mine's shorter, as you can tell. I don't like my aprons below my knees. I feel like I'm going to trip or fall when I'm trying to walk or get a good stride. So, you know, that's all. You can decide how long you want them, but you've got that option because, see, we've been cutting off inches on both sides. So you've got that option. So go ahead and set your scraps aside, and let's get ready, and we will determine where we want our pockets, because we are ready to put on pockets and patches. Alrighty, what we're going to do is we're going to start setting some patches on here, and what I use for the patches is just some scraps, and I went through and I made a bunch of little squares, and I used my pinking shears to pink the edges because I like that nice little jagged look. It gives it a cute little effect. So I just did a bunch of different colors, and I'm setting those out here because I'm going to choose from those. But at this time as well, we need to decide what pockets we're going to use and where. So let's set our little scraps over here and pull out your pockets that you had earlier. Getting ready here. Here's our waistband. We're going to use that for the strap, so we want to keep that out. And I got a couple of pockets. I've got these two. What else have I got? I've got this big one here that could go across there. I think I already even have one cut out like that. Let's see. Yeah, I've just got lots and lots of Levi's around here. That's perfect. I do have this one. Remember, it was the one with the zipper up the front. That would actually be a good pocket for down here. I like that idea. So that might be right there, problem solved for that one. I really like that right here, and we're kind of eyeballing it, and we can tell where center is. And I'm thinking, you know, that might work right there. And we can just sew it on using this edge right here, and in doing that, it will sew these pockets that we cut into, it'll sew them closed. So I like that one there. I'm going to leave it. That's where that pocket's going to go right now. So I'm just going to, sorry, apparently my husband feels like he needs to drill on something also while I'm working. Yeah, I love it. Gotta love it. So we're going to leave that one there. I'm just going to tack it up here because I want to put this on up against me and drape it to see how long it's gonna, how far down that pocket needs to be. So I've got it right there. And so if I'm here, you know, is that a good distance for me? And that is. I like that height of that pocket. So I'm going to leave that one right there where it's at. That is perfect. So now if you're wanting to put patches on these pockets, you'll need to do that before, obviously, you attach them to the Levi apron. So at this point right now, I want a patch right here. So I'm going to take a couple of these, and I like this. I might even just bend it over because I think that's kind of cute. So I'm going to take that one and put it there, and I like to do mine in like kind of a little bit of a rectangular or a different angle. I think there's too much orange in that one. I kind of want to break it up. So I'm going to mark that one there. But now keeping in mind, we have the flower right here that we're going to put on. And so the flower will more than likely go about right here. So I don't want a patch where I've got the flower going. So what I think I might do is probably patch a little bit on this waistband or something. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So I've got this one on there, and now we need to decide on this pocket right here. And let's see what I've got. I've got a nice one here, and that would give us that pocket, and then it would give us this pocket right here, and we'd have to just I like that it's crooked. I do like that, so that's a nice option right there. Let's pull out another one here. I think this one a little bit too thin. Maybe if it were that wide, I would say, yeah, but that leaves me a pocket there. Let me think about that. What if we did it that way? We could put something there, still using that, and then making this into a pocket. You know, you could put seeds in there, packet seeds and stuff. I like that. See? Just got to think about it for a minute. I do like that right there. I like that little pocket in there. I've got the pocket right there still, see, and this one's all intact. I didn't even end up cutting any of it. So what I'm going to do is sew that piece on right there. And see, on this one we've got a little distance here. This one's not going to be as far because I want it right about there. I want it lining up kind of with this little stitch because I'm going to run another zigzag along there, so I might as well just, because it's going to go down, over, and up. And this part will be open. So we've got that. I like that. So there's our two pockets. Let's go ahead and just pin that one down really quickly. Oh, sounds like Mr. Leo's having a fun time upstairs. It's always fun at Grandma's house. So, taking this again, oops, put those over there before I lose them. Taking this again, putting it right there. I've got this little pocket here. I'm liking that. Look at that little side pocket. That's so cute. And then these ones are right where I need them. It's right at the waistband. Very simple. Okay. So now, I've got those on there. My other option that I did have for this pair, for this actual apron, was this for the front of the apron, and it's just kind of, it's the back pockets. And that would also look really cute. I like that idea on there too, just taking a peek at it. And looking here, I'm still going with that. I really like it because I've got this functioning zipper in there. And also, I'm gonna get this, and I need to put any patches, like I said, prior to on here. But we got some badging we can work with right now. And I've got this little Lucky Brand badge, and I want that right there. More than likely, have it go right there. Now this right here is not a pair of Lucky jeans. I don't know what kind of jeans these are. There's a B on the button. So there's no badging on this one at all. So what I think I'd like to do before I actually sew it down, I think I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. So I'll go ahead and pin that on. And again, I'll do this prior to attaching the pockets. I'll just kind of, can't tell you how many pins I've bent working with this Levi's. There's thick. So I want that one there. That looks good. And I've got some belt loops. And the belt loops are for my tools. So I definitely need some belt loops on here. And what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to square this one up a titch. I can see it's going kind of cockeyed there. So let's get that out of the way. And square that one up a little bit. When I square, I say square, I just mean straighten up a seam a little bit. But I do like that. And then I've got some belt loops here. Have a few more if I can find out what I did with them. Oh, here's another one. So I do like those belt loops going on there. And let's see, what else have I got over here? Got some dark blue ones. Kind of like that one. It's faded. I'm going to put belt loops on both sides. This one's just going to go a little bit lower, right there. And then I've got these two up here. Got that side pocket. And I'm wondering if I could put a belt loop right here. There we go. Straightened that out. I don't want it to go too much into the pocket because I'd have to sew that on prior to and then sew it here. So yeah, we'll do it. I'll go there. We do need to sew this on to this part of the pocket so it's not, you know, in the way, and tacking this part of the pocket down and we're losing space in our pocket. And I like two there. I'm going to go with another one right above it because I want to be able to, you know, hang something in there. This one's just like my scissors or something while I'm out in the garden. And I just think too, across there would give it a little bit sturdier hold on, and I'm going to go with a lighter color up here so that you can actually see it a little bit better. So I like that. I took that down a ways. And this right here is feeling pretty thin because this was where the I guess my husband's keys or wallet were. So I'm going to take this off for a minute and show you what I'm going to do because this is so thin. I don't want to attach those belt loops and then have them rip off when I'm out in the garden. So I've got a piece right here. And I'm going to make a pretty good sized patch out of this. And I love this yellow. It's such a bright, pretty color. So I'm just going to go ahead and square me up a nice little piece here. It's going to be a little bit bigger than the rest of the patches, but this is definitely a functional patch because I want that area right there not to rip. So I'm going to put that patch right there. And what I do is I'm just going to pin it down. Mind you, when I pin it down, I'm just pinning it to this part. I'm not poking it into the actual pocket that's in there, okay, from here. So I'm putting that there, and now I feel like if I sew this here, it's a little stronger. And even though that's still thin, and I feel like it's too thin, I'm just going to put a piece underneath here. And this is just a little thin piece, and you're not even going to see it. But again, it helps to reinforce and strengthen that Levi under there where I've got these loops going in, or these belt loops going on, because I don't want them ripping. So putting that there, just pulling that out, and I'm going to grab that little piece underneath as well and snag that in there. So I'm really reinsuring that, or reinforcing that thin piece of Levi right there. So that's why I was saying even if this was a hole, we could do the same thing. We're just adding new pieces of Levi to it to give it a little more strength. And so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and sew just this part, and then when I come back and I place this down, I'll finish sewing from here up, and then I'll place my tabs and get my tabs on there. And this looks really nice and sunshiny up here anyway, because that looks cute. And we got to pull this one out as far as we can get it. Oh, let me see, that one's a little bit lighter. I like it. I want to go right about there with those two. So again, I'll just make sure I pin here and get anything underneath there, not getting the actual pocket part. And I'll take this off and go over and sew it. Oh, I can't get that through. There we go. Now before I take it off, what I want to do is take my orange marker, and I'm just going to lift up these corners and I'm going to mark them. It's a little bit hard to see the orange marker on this one. Maybe I've got a white pencil, and this one is showing up a little bit better. There we go. So I know that's where that pocket corner goes, okay? I'm going to do the same up here because, like I say, I'm taking this off to go sew it, and I want it right back in the same place. And that right there. Right there. That way I get it right back in the same place. But I'm not done, so I'm not taking it off of here yet. So I've got this patch here. And what I think I'm going to do to make it a little fun is probably throw in another patch right there. But I'm thinking I might want to, maybe I'll go with a lighter patch so that I can put a little embroidery on it or something. But I do like that. Maybe that patch is too big. No, all we have to do is cut it down. There we go, just like that right there. I like that one on there. And we'll sew that all on. So that one's done there. We decided the Lucky You was going down there. I'm kind of thinking I need something here. So, is there anything else? I don't have any badging or anything. So we're just going to leave it because we've got a flower going there. And we've got the pockets here. Let's go ahead and get some patches down here. Okay, what we're going to do is we need to get the waistband, the neck band on, and we need to put the buckle or the button right here. So pull that out, and here's our button. I'm going to put the finished end down and the raw edge up this way. I'm getting it out of the way of this pocket. I'm going to put a little patch right there because I think that'll look cute. And I'll sew that when I sew this on. And I'll go across the bottom. Boy, that's really thick right there. Now, as far as this goes, I like all the badging, and I want that on the outside of the jeans. So what I need to do is kind of say, okay, I'm going to measure, do some more measuring here really quickly while I've got these pockets pinned down. I only want my bib to come to about here. So if that button's there and I put 2 more buttonholes, I think I can give it just another. So I think we're going to be about that much too big. So there we go. Just going to chop that off. Okay, chop that off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sew across this when I'm sewing it on here. And I think I'll pop on another patch just to be fun. Just like that. And it is going to land right there. So we'll go ahead and put that on there. Now this is just getting an idea of everything we're doing, okay? Because we still got a step here to do. Once we get these patches set up and everything, what I want you to do is take this apron over to your sewing machine, and I want you to zigzag all the way around the body of the apron. And that's why I put these on now, because I want that zigzag to go right through them as well. I want you to go ahead and reinforce this whole apron so that none of this stuff comes unraveled. I mean, we're going to have a nice little zigzag stitch on there. It'll look really cute. So right now, like I say, we're just placing pockets and getting an idea of what we're doing. Once we get done doing that, we're going to go over to the machine and just zigzag the whole body. And then we'll come back and actually, while we're at the machine, we'll actually attach these on here, this on here. This can go right here. And I'm going to do another patch right there. I think I'm going to do one right there. I like these two together. And I'm going to put that one slightly under there. And remember, I don't want to get that black pocket in there, but I like those 2 patches right there. And that'll just be going down right in the seam, so I'll put that there. I like those 2. Now on this particular apron, you know, I had a little birdie and I put my name right here. I don't think I'm going to put a birdie or anything on this one, but I am going to take that this neckband, and I am going to put a piece right here and put a name or a word like dreamer, like I did on the other one, or just imagine, or love, or, you know, something fun, something inspirational. So anyway, I'm probably going to do that, but not to worry about that right now. We can do that in a little bit. So we're still working on this one right here. We threw on a patch there. Okay, now we're back. I've put my patches where I want them. I moved my Lucky You up here. I'm going to use it as a pencil holder. So I'll sew along here, and then when I'm putting the pocket on, and I'll sew along over here, not closing off the ends, so I can put a pencil in there. So I like that idea. So I've got all my patches and my branding where I want it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of take this one off, put it by the machine, because that needs to be sewn like that. This is good. It's marked where it needs to go. And now what we need to do is, this one's faded, so it'll show my orange marker really well. And I'm just going to mark with my orange marker where my ends should go. I'm going to even mark right here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but so I've marked there, and then I'm marking up here, just so I know where my ends go. And then I've got another belt loop here. What's this supposed to? I don't know, because I've got 2 belt loops over here, 2 on this side, and then I've got 2 that go up here. So now that I've got that all marked, I'm just going to go ahead and lift this up. I'm going to take it to the sewing machine so I can sew on these. So that'll go over there. And then, remember what we needed to do on this? We need to sew a zigzag all around the perimeter of the apron and leaving these 2 in place when you're doing your zigzag, because I want you to zigzag this on really well there and really well there, because I want that really secure. So I'm going to go ahead and take this to the machine, do my zigzag stitch, stitch on my patches, stitch up patches on my pocket, and then we'll come back, attach the pockets, and actually stitch those on. And then we're almost done. All we need is our ties, and I'll show you how those are made as well. So just one moment. Alrighty now. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and zigzagged the whole apron, and I've zigzagged on my patches. You know, you've got to put one patch on, then the other one, so that takes a little bit of time. But while I was out zigzagging and everything, oops, I came across this piece right here. It was a piece that we cut out of here, and I put it right there because I wanted to, on my other one, I also did that because I like that for that purpose right there, just to have a little holder for when I'm out in the garden and I'm, you know, working. I need my scissors. I have my garden clippers, and that's a perfect place for them. So I just threw that on there really quick. I zigzagged across the top before I attached it, just so that it wouldn't unfray. So I'm really happy with that decision. And then what I did is I went ahead and I got all the patches on this one and my loops attached in the badge, or the patch down here that says Lucky Brand. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the machine. This is crooked. I like that. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to go back to the machine and I'm going to sew right here. I'm going to sew up this edge and underneath these belt loops. Bring it all the way up to the top. This right here has been serged already from the company, you know, from when the Levi was made. So I don't need to worry about, you know, double stitching or zigzag stitching this to prevent any fraying. And then at the same time, I'm going to run a straight stitch down here, and then I'm going to run one right here so that I will have a pencil holder for my Lucky U. So I'm going to go ahead and just make sure I've got all my pockets in there good where I want it. I've got it lined up on the marks that I made earlier, so I'm really happy with that. This is coming out a little bit further than I thought, so I might just nip this off right here and just nip these and make them a little bit shorter. So I'll just go on the original stitch marks. I like that. So anyway, and I'll remember that goes right there. My pin doesn't want to go through it. It keeps bending. Then I'm going to bring the bottom pockets over. Line up my little marks, get them right under there so that you can't see them, just right where they were. Make sure my little black pockets underneath, see those little black pockets? I want to make sure they're nice and flat because these are going to be functional pockets, and I want to make sure I get them closed off so that nothing falls through them with my stitching. So we're going to go ahead and go with that, and I've got that mark there, and it looks like I have lost a tab, so it's around here somewhere, but I am going to put another one back on there because when I sew, I'm going to sew along here, but I'm going to miss this rivet. I'm going to kind of sew around that rivet, and I'm going to sew around this rivet. Don't want to damage my needle. So I'm just going to mark those on there and make sure they're in place, which they are. And so what I'll do is I'll take this back over to the sewing machine, and again I'm going to use a zigzag stitch and then a straight stitch after that, just to reinforce and to make sure I haven't missed any ends. And then after that we will attach our ties, and we're going to call this done. Oh, I know what else I was going to show you. Got these on here. This turned out nicely. Got those on there. And on my other aprons, you know, I did a little bit of freeform sewing and everything here. I will do this possibly. Really haven't decided yet. Probably will. but not right now. I kind of like this one being a little bit more simpler. And, you know, I got one for myself now, one for my sister, and then this is my spare. I mean, if anything, I can give this away as another gift. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sew that on there. Get these straight, because I want them straight on there. I don't want them angled, so that my tools can go in there. And then I'll be back in just a moment. Alrighty, let's take a look at this apron so far. Now what I've done, let me just nip a few strings here real quick, is I went over and I sewed on my pockets. As you can see, I've sewn that one on, and then I've sewed this one on, and I didn't do any interior pockets. I just wanted to keep this one a little bit more simple, but you can definitely put an inside pocket in here, and that's just a matter of taking a piece of, you know, fabric and before you put this on there and making a pocket. So it's not very hard at all. So we've got all my patches on and everything. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of, I did go over while I was doing my stitching here, and I put 2 additional buttonholes. So what I want to do is, because I don't have my seam ripper, I'm just going to take my blade and cut those open. Be very careful if you're using your blade. You don't want to cut through your thread that you use to make your buttonhole. So got those done. Let's go ahead and try this on so we can go ahead and get our ties. So taking this over here, putting this around, this will help to judge how long it is and how many more buttonholes I need to put in possibly. Let me grab it. It's falling back behind my hair there. All right, I'm thinking that this top buttonhole for me, that will work perfect, and that's kind of what I measured. And so I'm just putting the button through there. It's tight the first time, so there we go. We've got that on there. And so here is where we need to make our ties. And so looking at it, our ties need to go right here so that we have our apron. It's got a nice pocket right here. It's got a nice pocket right here. And then what I did do, let me grab this really quickly, is I made me a pencil holder right there with my Lucky You. I love that idea, so I did that. Also, I've got me over here, where did it go? Right there. Swing kind of to the back when it's tied, but right here I've got me a place for my scissors. You know, instead of a back pocket when you're out there working and cutting with your plants and stuff, I just stick my clippers right in there. So I am loving this apron. It seems to be the perfect size for me. Girl can never have too many aprons, huh? So let me go ahead, pull that off, and and then of course always we've got this cute little button right here, and it unzips. I don't know if you'll ever need to unzip it, but it's sure cute to have just in case. Fun. Got my belt loops on here for tools. Really pleased with this one. So what I'm going to do is the ties. And as far as the ties go, kind of just take this string, and you know where it landed right here? I would say your ties need to be about 22 inches long, just to give you a nice amount to tie in a bow in the back. So what I did is I just went and pulled out some scraps, and I want to make those. And when you're doing these, I'm going to be like using the pinking shears and doing the edges. So if you've got a quilting board, great. If not, just use a ruler and get that straightened up on there. And I want to go to, let me see this one. Just pull it on over here and see how wide that one is. That one is 2 inches. So I want to go 2.5 because I'm going to be cutting with the nippers, all right? So I've got that on there. Get my trusty ruler out here. And there's 2.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these up in sections, like this one has been cut in sections, and we're going to kind of patch it together as well. So there's a nice piece, and I think we'll just go with the rest of this one. And it takes it almost right over to the edge. I think that's just going to take off the selvage here. So, whoops, There is a nice scrap piece of fabric. Oh my goodness. All used up. So that's what's going in the garbage. That makes me happy. I hate to waste. So there's those two pieces. Then I've got another one here. I think I'll make just one piece out of this. Kind of square it up. It's a good straight line right there. And we're going to go with 2.5. How many more do I have? I'd rather have more than less, because I can always use these for something else. Because all jelly rolls, if you ever do any quilting, they're at 2.5 as well. So I like that, because if I don't use them for this project, I can definitely use them for a jelly roll quilt project. So it's a good idea to keep it at the 2.5. So we'll throw that over there. Here's just a little scrap, and I want to be able to use up all my scraps again, like I was saying. So what I'm going to do is take this across here and get the salvage edge. It's the one that's got the maker and everything, and you know, you don't want that showing up in your work. So just get it off of there and cut a couple out of here. If you can get a couple. There's 2, 3, 2.5 right there. Just a teeny tiny piece of waste. And I got this little cute fabric. Let's see. It's kind of, I think we'll go with this direction right here. Looks like it's wrinkled underneath there. And I really should press it, but you know, I'm not too worried about it. This is just kind of a patchwork apron. Let's just keep it easy. Press it with your hand. You'll probably end up pressing in it when it comes time, once you start to patch them together or link them together. You'll want to press the seams, and I'll show you that in a minute. So we've got 2.5 right there. Oh, for some reason, this is time to change my blade. I'm going to do one more just in case I don't have to come back. Alrighty. So there's another scrap we can put in the pile. And I do like this blue. I'll get a few of those. Just maybe 2. So again, just kind of square that up. It looks like this end's squared up more. And fortunately it's got lines on it so I can see that it's not quite straight, so I want to straighten that end. Oh. Okay, so there's 1, 2.5. And one more. Right there, perfect. Square that piece off. I've left the red out there just in case we need it. Because remember I said we were at 22 inches. I think that's what I said. I'm sorry. It's getting late. So what I want to do is kind of just run this along my ruler here, and it gives me inch marks. It goes down to the 36 inches. So I'm going to put this here. And at the same time, I'm going to kind of put one on this side, but with a different color. Because what happens is, on these ties, you're putting right sides out. You're putting wrong sides together. So we're backing these like this to make just one tie. So what I want to kind of do is see where do I want this? And I'm liking that one so far. This seems a bit long. So where's my scissors? I'm going to cut it at about 10. And I'll maybe put it right there. And let me pull over one of my other fabrics. Let me straighten that off right there. I'm going to go, remember I said 22, so from here to here is 22, and now I'm looking at it, I'm thinking 26 might be better. That's good. So 26 is right here. So what I'm going to do is, this is the right side. I'm going to put these right sides together here. I'm going to sew that across there. Let me pin it. And on this one, this is equaling 28, just like this. And I think that's quite a bit of that. I think I'm going to take a nip of that out and go with this right here. Up this way. And maybe not quite that much. So I'm going to cut this. And I'm going to put this here. And this will hook onto that. And let me get it down to 26. That seems like a lot of that. Let's take that out. Put that into 26 right there. So what I'm going to do is putting these with the right sides together. I'm going to sew these because I don't want these seams hanging out. I'm just trying to make one long chain of fabric. I'll put that one there. Pin it. So what happens is I sew that, then when I get it laid out this way, I come over here and get this one, which I did earlier. I remember it was the 26 as well. And then I put them right sides together, and I'll sew, and that'll be one band that goes on the apron here. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, gee, that still looks a little small. These ones are awfully long. I did these ones a little bit longer than they needed to be, but I like long tails on mine. So let's just go ahead and give a quick measure and see what craziness I did here. Oh God, these went to 31. Now let's throw a couple of more loops on, add-ons onto here. And so we got that. This has only got 2 anyway. Let's pull that down. I like this one. And they're about the same size still. Put that there. So let's see. How long did I end up getting that? Let's just really check it out. I've got to unpin this to get the true measure. And I took that one to 32. So that's our number, 32. Yeah, that's a good number. It was a good year. So let's go ahead and put that together. And we know that one's 32, and the next ones we'll work on those as getting them at 32. So let's unpin this really quickly and make sure we get it at 32. And I'm just going to put these again right side together, go over to my machine, sew them together, and I'll be right back and I'll show you how we're going to construct them. Well, like I said, once you go ahead and get it sewn together, I might as well tell you right now. What I want you to do is get them sewn together, press them on the iron, and then they'll be nice and neat and laying flat, okay? Then take them and flip them over to the wrong side up. Then take your other one, where it went, because it's going to be nice and sewn and pressed as well, and lay them wrong sides together so you've got right sides popping up. Once you got it like that, I want you to zigzag all the way around this great big long tie. Just zigzag all the way around it, then we'll come back and we will attach it right here to the apron. And then, you know what? We're going to be done. So let's go ahead and go to the sewing machine, the ironing board, and get this taken care of, and I'll be right back. Okay, what I've done, as you can see, I've sewn wrong sides together, right sides out. I went in a little bit, just did a zigzag stitch, because I'm going to take this and do my pinking shears all the way down it. And so just take your pinking shears. Now be careful not to cut through your zigzag stitch, okay? Just want to now you don't have to do your pinking shears, I just like them. So go ahead and finish. Okay, here we are. Got both ties done. Now, just going to go ahead and get the apron. It's right here. And attach the ties. And this, it's going to overlap that patch a little bit, but actually it looks like a patch. So just get it right there, a nice good amount on there that you're going to anchor. And I'd like to go right up to the edge to anchor that on there. So go ahead and get that set. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over to the machine and tack these on. And when I do these, I kind of like to do a little square and then an X through the square. Because it really anchors it down if you can do a square and then an X. Because these are going to take a lot of tension because you're going to be pulling it and bowing it. So take a minute and make sure you get those anchored on there good. Alrighty, back from the sewing machine. And what I've done is I've gone ahead and put these ties on and anchored them on with a little X. So they are all on there. This I am going to call done. Still thinking about whether or not I want to put a, let me get that straight, sorry, it's twisted on me, it's bugging me. Okay, let's get that turned around there. Still thinking about putting something personalized on here, much like I did here, but I'm not going to do it right now. All I did was take, again, another patch of fabric, and then took my freeform and I sewed the word Tootsie on there. So that's totally up to you. On some of my patches, like on this one, I did X and O's, I did little birdies. That is, you know, like I say, if you feel like you want to go to that extent, great. Otherwise, here we go. This one is done, and so I'm going to show you how it worked out. So we get it on here. And then it goes on. Here's my ties. Right at the back, I've got these nice lengthy ties. I get me a nice good bow going on there. And I'm set. There's my apron. Got my pockets here, lots of room, pockets here, pocket here, pocket here. Right over here I've got another pocket, and I've got my pencil holder and my belt loops right here so that I can put tools. I've got another one here. So lots of utility work that we can do on here. We can use, you know, scissors as far as trying to find my hoop. There we go. Now, if that was a shovel or a clipper, you know, you've got plenty of room here and lots of options. So I sure hope you enjoyed this apron. I know I enjoy making them. They're so much fun. And again, here's just another Christmas gift. I was able to get this outfit or this apron done in one evening, and that was with me showing you instructions on how to do it. If you take the time and watch through the video, and then you'll be able to whip a couple of these out. I think you can get 2 out of 2 pair of pants. Just move that fabric around and manipulate it and get it to fit the size of the pattern you need. Any other things I can think of here? I would recommend, again, a Levi needle, because it really did, it bent my pins. So if it's bending my pins, you know, it's going to be tough on your needle. So that's my only other recommendation on here. So I really appreciate you being here with me and having so much fun making these aprons. I wanted to give you a sneak peek preview, I guess I should say, of what the next tutorial is that we've got coming up. Let me grab that. I don't know if you saw this in the back or not. It's been sitting back here, but this right here is just a cute little pillow. It's a 16 by 16 insert, and it's already stuffed. You just buy it at Joann's or, you know, Hobby Lobby, wherever you're going. You could definitely just sew it and stuff it yourself. That's really up to you. I just like to use the inserts. And what I've used for the fabric on this is a simple drop cloth. And I got it at Home Depot in the paint department. And it rips beautifully. I love the little fringe edges. And again, you're just going to be using a zigzag or a decorative stitch. And a little bit of applique. Just need a little bit of underwonder. I used to put the picture on here, and then a little bit for the stems. Did a little bit of freeform just to kind of throw in some little leaves and little twigs and stuff. then we will be working on these cute little flowers. And these flowers are just, you can do so much with them. You could even attach them to these aprons. I know my apron over here had a little flower on it, and I have an extra one of these. And so I'm going to actually put one of those right here. I've got an extra one, and that's what I'm going to do with it, is take one of these cute little flowers and attach it right here with a button. And those buttons are just the kind that you cover with fabric. So this is a fun little project. This here took, I was able to whip out 4 pillows in one afternoon. This is a really quick project. Not a lot of pressure. Again, just a simple straight stitch will do. I just played around with my design stitches when I did it. So come on back, let's go ahead and get this one done as well. Makes perfect Christmas presents, and then with this little spring color, you can even move on into Mother's Day with this, or Easter, or anything like that. But come on back and we'll finish this one up as well. Thank you, and I appreciate you coming to the studio. You know, there was one thing I forgot to mention while we were chatting about this apron, and on these aprons you can do a tea bath on them, or a coffee bath. Now on my apron I did do a tea bath on mine, and I've got it laying over this. And it just gives it a little bit of an antique look to it, a little bit more a brownish tone to the fabric. And when you take it out of the tea bath and then you throw it in the dryer, it also helps the edges to fringe a little bit more, to fray, because I really like that. Now on a tea bath, all it is I just use the Lipton instant tea, like the Lipton instant iced tea mix. And it takes about 4 tablespoons to a nice bowl. You know, you've got those nice big round salad bowls. That's what I use to put my apron in. And I put about 4 tablespoons of the instant tea, and then I put some boiling water in there just to fill up the bowl. Then I take this, I bunch it up, and I submerge it in the bowl of tea. And I let mine sit for about 3 hours. And it's hot water, and it's just kind of really seeping into the fabric. Now the longer you let it sit, the darker the tea dye is going to be. So what you want to do is that maybe after an hour, if you don't want it that dark, you can test it. And the way you test it is you just like take a piece of this out and rinse it under cold water, leaving the rest in the bowl. Just rinse that under cold water and see what color tone you're getting. See if you like the antiquing look that you're getting. If you're not getting enough, put it back in and leave it submerged in there. I've soaked stuff overnight before just to get that real rich tea dingy look in there, because I really like that antique dingy look. But if you don't want it that dark, again, just go for a couple of hours, test it, try a few more. Mine here, I guess I can show you. This is my apron. I've got 2 aprons on this mannequin. This is my apron right here. And I tea dyed this one for about 3-4 hours. And if you look at these, you can just barely detect the difference between the white and this white on here that's now beige. And literally it just turned my whites beige, and I really like that. And then it gave a little bit of tone to my patches as well, and a little bit of tone to my Levi. I think had I done it again, I would have left it in there longer, because again, I like a richer color. This one I made tea dye, because I didn't tea dye the one for my sister, just because that's not her thing, and I kind of know that. I'm thinking, so I think with this one, because it's got this nice colors and everything, I might just tea dye this one. But right now, just to give you a heads up, that's what you want to do. And when you're done soaking it and you decide you've got just the right patina on that tea dye that you like, go ahead, rinse it out in cold water, wring it out in the sink. You know, get it as you know, water free and tea free as possible. Stick it in your dryer and do the spin cycle only. And once it's done spinning, throw it in the dryer, throw a fabric sheet in there, and tumble it and get it nice and dry. That will help set the tea stain in there. And then in the future, if you do wash it, don't wash it with anything the first time or so, because some of that tea may come back out and I don't want it staining your other clothes. So, you know, just maybe throw it in there by itself the first time. After that, you're going to be fine, because the dryer does help set the tea in there. Again, in the future, if you feel like you want more tea color in there, you can always throw it in another tea bath. I usually just do one and then let life happen to it. So anyway, that is the tea bath. And I was going to mention also, yes, you can do it with coffee. I've done it with instant coffee. as well. Again, about 4 tablespoons to that bowl. And the thing with coffee is it goes a lot darker, a lot faster, and it leaves a coffee smell to the garment. So once you get done dyeing it, you really want to rinse that garment pretty good and let that coffee get out of there, and then go again through the spin cycle and the dryer, and that'll help set that stain in there. But just be aware that the coffee does go darker faster, so you'll want to make sure you just kind of test your fabric as you're going along with the coffee. All right, well, you have a great day, and I appreciate you coming by.